Hey folks, it's update time. Just Matt today. And I'm back from Houston, started the clinical trial, which is weird. We're going to talk about that. Feeling pretty good. It's mostly tiring, a little pale, and I'll eventually get the big giant zits again. So we're looking forward to that. First thing, we're going to have a quick swag show. Some interesting things have happened. I got, first of all, from Cricket Jack. I remember him from the sailing episode, Cricket Jack of Cricket's Creations. He makes a lot of groovy stuff in his shop. He did not make this t-shirt that he gave me that says, "It's what I do. I smoke cigars and know things." That's pretty cool. Yeah, I know everybody's going to wait. Cancer Boy likes cigars. Yeah, I love cigars, and also look up the stats on users of less than, non-inhalers of less than 3 cigars a week. I think you don't break the squelch on cancer stats. I've traded cigars with oncologists before. No kidding. He also made a creation of my badge upon my retirement. It's an absolute work of art on some really high-end plywood that has my years of service, 1991 to 2019. And you can normally see it. I put it back there somewhere by the rugby balls, the world's most interesting man, and my skim board. So you'll be able to see that. Also, we put it on Facebook, somewhere else. We visited one of our supporters, Axaholics Hatchet House in Odessa. And I promised myself when I walked in that I was not going to buy one of their custom tomahawks. And I didn't. They gave me one. And this work of art was made by Mike Elliott. And you guys remember Blake from the previous episode about axes, and this thing is amazing. It is they explained it's a warrior is the name of the shape of the bit here, and the handle has my name, has a symbol for wind to symbolize sailing and flying and all that I'm into, Morse code, the ham radio episodes, Mike's little watermark here, cross on the top, and it is an absolutely fascinating piece of gear. I did not want to throw it, and then Blake showed me his that has over 3,000 throws on it. It looked great, so I threw the hell out of it, and it's a lot of fun. Folks, go to Axaholics Hatchet House in Odessa. You will have a blast. Go to Facebook, check out their page. In fact, I won't link it here. Just go to Facebook, Axaholics at Hatchet House in Odessa. Facebook links are weird. And you can book online and show up. It's a great time, a lot of fun. And it's easier than I thought and harder than I thought, kind of all at the same time. So give it a shot. We're just hitting, so we hit 50 episodes. This might be 50, I can't remember. And we've been at it 1 year. January 30th was the first episode. And people are actually watching this thing, so I'll keep making them. It's a lot of fun. And we're closing in on the last few of the election episodes. March 3rd is Midland's primaries. Be sure to vote in that. Remember, many of the offices are going to be decided in the Republican primary in Midland for local slots because there are no Democratic runners. So give that a check. The clinical trial has been unusual. They do a lot of testing there. So I'm on a trial. And the details of the drug are not important. It's a combination and kind of a branch thing. It's not a true chemo. It's a different kind of drug that inhibits cancer differently. So the side effects aren't as bad. I've got a clear head. Like I said, it'll do some stuff to my skin, and I get a little tired in the evenings. That's about it right now. My voice is holding up pretty well. This class of drugs does tend to make my voice a little scratchy, but this is a trial for Stage 4 people like me that are considered incurable, inoperable, and it helps you live longer and helps you live longer well. You're not as sick as the standard chemos, which they stopped working well on me. You're essentially killing the weaker cancer first in some cases, and essentially mine. One thing is, this is the first time I have not been treated in Midland with chemo. Normally even if a doctor at MD Anderson prescribes it, you get chemo here in Midland. And Midland has a big open big open infusion room, so everybody's in recliners, and we all sit around and talk, and you get to know each other, and you jab at the nurses and break balls and tell jokes, and so it's a great time considering. But MD Anderson's all private rooms, which is kind of weird, but kind of nice at the same time. So I miss you guys in Midland, all my chemo angels and my friends there, but I still get to see everybody on checkups. They still look at me here locally. As far as results, I don't know how the clinical trial is. I'll be closely monitored. Won't know anything really until April, how well it's working. I kind of got Chernobyl results again. Not great. Was it not good? Not great, but not terrible. Nothing really super new or alarming. It's still there. It's lungs and peritoneum, and just sort of sitting there, and it grew a little bit when I was off chemo. But it's so far the trial is supposed to be working well on other people in my situation, and this is broken down by genetics and molecular structure and all that. It's pretty complicated. And a lot of testing. They check everything and they follow it. So I have to go to EKGs and get my eyes checked and all this stuff. It's way more complicated than it was before. So that part's a little tough to get used to, but it's not bad. We're going to get into the election. We'll talk about that some more. Got a couple more people coming in. I get a number of questions and comments every week. Once again, I'll address it. People say, are you going to give all the candidates a shot? Answer is no. I'm not a broadcaster. I'm a podcaster. Remember, we're the lowest form of life. We're right above the Tide Pod eaters on YouTube. Just a dude sitting in my game room with friends, and did that just to learn more about candidates. And there are candidates, anybody that's asked, I've brought them on. So I'm not going to call everybody, honestly, because that's going to get prohibitive on the schedule. But anybody that wants to be here, they're going to be here, and I'll do my best to get them in. I haven't turned anyone away, and there's only a couple of candidates that I would not talk to, and they're not real candidates, if you know what I mean. If you watch it, they're just sort of comic relief. Actually, only one right now. So another thing people talked about is, they tell me, man, this is cool, but it's an hour long. Well, this is long form conversational. It's kind of the thing right now. When my treatment began, the second round in 2018, it was tough for me to read and focus. I don't know why, but listening helps. So I did books on tape, and I got into this, and you really learn something about a person in this format, and it's enjoyable. We shoot for an hour, and we almost never make it. It's hard to do because you get an interesting person in here and you just want to keep talking. We watch the clock, and sometimes we get there, sometimes we don't. I understand that listening to a political candidate or something like that, we're so used to the sound bite. We're so used to the quick interview. When you sit down with them and have a talk, you really learn more about them, and that's how I would like to pick somebody that I would hire to work for me. So I wouldn't want to just look on YouTube or Facebook or whatever for 2-minute slots. Sit down and talk to them and have a good time. It's great to listen to when I drive, when I fly. If you can sit down and watch a 4-hour football game, you could probably take a drive or mow the lawn and listen to a podcast for half an hour. It's not a big deal. I think I mentioned it in Midland, March 3rd. So get out there, get ready to vote. And the other thing, I'm getting a lot of calls about the sheriff's office investigation. I'm not going to talk about that. None of the people are. And here's why, and here's why you're not hearing anything about it. Anytime, almost anytime, there is some sort of internal investigation, so this could be like a shooting or allegation of a crime, embezzlement, or whatever's gone on. You've seen the headlines. You know the kind of stuff that's happened. It's investigated, in our case, in most Texas municipalities and counties by the Texas Rangers, because it's they're an outside unit. They're not directly attached. They don't always work together. They're sort of outside of the local system. They're outside of the local system, and they specialize in this kind of thing. And while the public has an absolute right to know what's going on, that doesn't apply to when the investigation is open, because once you're investigating it and you're talking to people, if you let every detail out along the way, and this is in investigations that I did when I was an investigator at the sheriff's office and at the DA's office, if you let every detail out as you go, it is a complete mess and you don't get done. So once it's done and it'll get done and they'll let everybody know everything that anybody knows about it locally, almost everything. And definitely 100% of what I know about it is complete hearsay. There are things I've heard from other people, so I'm not going to speak to any of it. Now, I'll sit around with friends and we'll talk about what we know, but as far as putting out in the public, I'm not going to be the one to muddy the waters, and hopefully nobody else will be. Just sit back and relax, and it'll get over and done with. And it's an unpleasant thing, and nobody wants to deal with it, but that's just how investigations go, and they always leak a little bit. There's always details that come in and out, and so right now, and it's not a 1 hour world, okay? It's not a NYPD Blue episode where everything's tied up in a bow in an hour. These things take forever, especially if you get into anything that nowadays that involves records, cell phones, or any kind of transactions. You have to go through a lot of mess to get that stuff. So if there's anything like that involved, it takes forever. I always loved in the TV shows where DNA comes back in 15 minutes, and I've waited 6 weeks or more to get it. I mean, you really have to have a train wreck for it to be super fast. But that's all we got right now. We're getting out of the election thing here pretty soon. We're going to get back to our regular trash and have a good time. So any topics or anything you guys want to talk about, I want to get back more into history, local history, the conspiracy theories, the skeptic stuff, and some interesting people. And we've had some really good tips on interesting folks. So whatever you got, bring it on. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook. I've not been posting much on Facebook since the weirdness. When I got to Houston, I found out not only did my one-day Facebook prison sentence, did I say YouTube? I meant Facebook on all that. My one-day sentence from before that I mentioned apparently came with a 30-day prohibition from going live. I don't know what that means, because you can't go live when you hit it from a browser on your phone, only if you have the software installed, which I won't because it's a mess. And so I tried the Facebook Lite and on a couple of devices, and it just didn't work. It just told me, we can't do this right now. And I couldn't post live from my phone, and so just kind of said to hell with it. So I'm going to do my updates from here. That is the biggest mess ever. And I think it was trying to steer me toward installing Facebook and Messenger as apps on my phone rather than just hitting the website from the device browser. I have no idea, but it has turned into such a complete mess. I hate Facebook anyway, but I love staying in touch with old friends and family and all you guys that watch what we're doing here. So I'll stick around, but as far as generating a lot of traffic and a lot of posts there, I'm out. I'm definitely going to stay in touch with Howling Place and all those guys. But anyhow, enjoy the podcast. Shoot us any ideas, any suggestions. I've had some really cool ideas, lighting and camera angles and such from people. So please keep it up and get out and vote. Have a good time, and we'll see you guys on. Going to be doing about 3 episodes this week, so it'll be quick. Cheers and thank you.